resources that you have found that you'd like to share, we would love to know about those as well, because there's probably other families that could benefit from them if you're finding them useful. So I'll open it up again to any of our newcomers. We also have Stephanie, who is a teacher of blind students in Louisiana, on the call so far. So. And if you'd like to speak, please feel free to unmute and let us know who you are and
Hi,
what you'd like
it's
to
Allison.
share.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm just gathering my thoughts because I'm not even sure what I need. If that makes sense. It's well, because I mean, quite honestly, my family in some ways is very privileged right now, and I'm thankful for that, because kind of like you said, Melissa, we have a lot of blindness stuff around our house because we're blind parents already. We actually borrowed a Perkins Braille reader from early intervention when my older daughter was in early intervention, and we just never gave it back, and they never asked for it. So, I mean, they can have it if they ask, but they haven't. So we have a Perkins, and then the school district lent us a smart Brailler. We have to give it back at the end of this month, but we've had it. We didn't have a charger for a while, but we did eventually get that too. So, but my kids are really little. It's just not working. I don't know that little kids are designed for virtual instruction. I just don't know that they are. And as long as that's the case, I feel like we have a lot of resources and it's not necessarily improving things, if that makes sense. And I don't even know what to ask for in that case, because it's not that we don't have things, it's that maybe we don't have things that work for my family. I don't know how to explain it better than that. My kids are little. They're 4, and my little one's almost 2, and they're both blind, and you know, they're both Braille learners, and they're typically developing, and I just quite don't, I can't quite get a handle on what it is we need. But we actually we dropped out of public school. We pulled my 4-year-old out of public school when the stuff with the waivers went down about a month ago now, maybe 6 weeks ago. And we're homeschooling now, and we're using my state. I'm in Arizona. They've got an empowerment scholarship, which gives some funding to families of kids with IEPs. It's some of the state funding. It's a percentage of what they would get in public school, so that you can pursue other education like homeschool or private school. And so, because my thinking was, if we're homeschooling anyway, which is what we are, I'd rather choose the type of homeschooling we do rather than trying to adapt distance education that is not adapted for a blind kid. Because it wasn't. We got printables, you know, things that were inaccessible. And over time, we were able to work some of it out. And I do think the teachers tried. We were getting some materials from the TVI. She was dropping off some patterns curriculum. And all of that helped a little bit. But ultimately, I was worried about the waivers. And I just decided, if we're already homeschooling, I might as well just homeschool. And so then we've since hired Tech Vision to do Braille instruction with Alyssa, my 4-year-old. And that's also not working well for different reasons, which goes back to, I think that a 4-year-old is just not really meant for virtual instruction. And that is what we have for now, but that's not always what we'll have, hopefully. And it's not anything anybody is or isn't doing. It's just not a fit.
Well, Allison,
no, and it's hard. And go ahead, Carlton.
I was going to say, and part of the thing is sometimes teachers aren't fits either. That's in person or online. Depending on the person, and that would be the public school teacher or anyone else, some people don't click. And some people aren't great working with young ones, especially because yours are younger than most teachers work with. So I would just encourage you to not assume that it's not going to work at all, that there may still be some things. I think definitely what has been done isn't working, obviously, it sounds like, but that doesn't necessarily mean that nothing could work.
That makes sense. And to be fair to Tech Vision, like, they're letting us try out a couple teachers before we pick one. We're on our 2nd week, and so we're on our 2nd teacher. And I liked the first one much better than the second. And they're letting us try 1 or 2 more. So I agree with that. I feel like they are willing to work with us on that. I'm just feeling discouraged today because it's just kind of, Anastasia's saying she has to go. So you go ahead. I'm here for a minute. You go ahead and do whatever questions you need to do. We can circle back to me.
Oh, no.
Sure, no,
just in case when we log off, it it wouldn't be like a surprise, like I got bored or anything. No, we just have to leave in 15 minutes for her TVI calling. So what they've been doing in Hawaii with Eliana, the teachers are finally able to get in yesterday. So yesterday, our TVI went in and got all of her Braille stuff and like things that she's been typing out at home. And she was able to give that to us. But up until now, we've just had calls. Thankfully, we've had her Braille Note Apex at home. They were going to switch her to a Touch Plus, but that was left at school, and that's going to be a different learning curve at this point too. So we finally got the Braille Note Apex set up at home, and they've just kind of been doing lessons. Like her 2 TVIs call in every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they both have an hour each, and they try to listen in on the audio. And it's just been a lot of like hard back and forth because they can't see what she's doing. She's too fast for me or for them to like listen to it. And she's going ahead where she's not supposed to go ahead. So then we take half an hour to backtrack and erase what she did. It's been really difficult. And as for her math, everything in her math has been verbal so far because I'm just getting emails of the math from her teacher, and I've just been only able to do it verbally.
So what I'd say, I mean, it's great that you have the Apex. You could actually have her do the brailing and then email that file to her teacher, and then the teacher would be able to know whether she's brailing it correct. I mean, it's not instant feedback, which isn't the greatest, but it sounds like and I know her a little bit, so I know she's a pretty fast learner and probably wants to kind of go ahead, and it might be more frustrating for her to have to, I mean, certainly she has to learn to follow directions too, which is maybe a skill you're working on, I don't know. But if she's really frustrated and kind of wants to go ahead and she's feeling like she's being slowed down, that can also be problematic. So maybe it's not worrying quite so much having her read through it and see if she can catch mistake, but then also having her email it to her teacher at the end. If you're able to do that, you should be able to save it on either use the Braille Notes email or save it on a thumb drive or something and hook it up to a desktop, or, you know, there's lots of ways that you could email it. My kids are using just a regular Perkins. Go ahead.
Oh no, she is emailing all of her, like her journals, her spelling work, her so she knows how to do all of that. Right now she's just distance learning like block command movements on the Apex, which is completely new. So yeah, so that's the stuff where she's like jumping ahead.
Got it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carlton.
I was also going to say on the Braille Note Apex, it can support Nemeth too. I don't know if y'all knew that, but there's, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. We know, we've just never really done it on the Braille Note. I guess she's done most of her math on paper, like on just printed out paper.
Right, which actually makes a lot of sense, especially if you're lining things up. The Braille Note is a little harder because you don't have more than one line. But I mean, during this time, at least you can practice some of the skills. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I mean, her teachers, instead of sending you an email, they could send her something for her Braille Note file and their TVIs. Yep. So hopefully, even if they don't know how to do it, they could spend a little time and learn how to do it. But because it's not appropriate for her to be getting only audio math unless all the other students are getting only audio math.
Just try it. If it doesn't work again.
It's
I mean, it shouldn't be something that you have to do, Anastasia. I mean, it really shouldn't be. This is something, she has 2 TVIs, which is kind of amazing. I think between the 2 of them, they could figure it out.
Yeah, well, like one does all the Braille Note stuff and the other one does all the Braille stuff. So they kind of divide it that way. And then I think they didn't have access to an embosser at home either because that was stuck at the school. So they haven't been able to print out too much. So whatever was at the school already, they gave. And the math, I don't know. I guess she's never had math files sent on her Braille note for her to read through.
Might be worth an ask.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll ask.
Is she a first grader now or a kindergartner? How old is she?
First grade.
First grade. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So definitely, I'm sure she knows basic Nemeth. A lot of the problems at this age too are just written across anyway. They're not always written vertically. So it really might not be, again, I totally agree with the paper Braille. I have no, I totally understand all of that. In this time though, sometimes you have to do what you can do to get the Braille under her fingers. And it seems like since she has that Braille note that can do math, that would be a really good way possibly to do that. So
yeah, they've just been doing like abacus skills a lot, and then focusing
that's nice.
block command and stuff. So it doesn't technically follow what the class is doing, but they're working on more blindness skills, like in the distance learning meetups on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, it would just be definitely nice though if she can get actual text math as opposed to audio math.
Yeah.
Again, unless everybody else is doing only audio.
Right. Or even just story problems. I mean, a lot of stuff this age too is like Sam had 3 apples. He gets 2 more. How many? Like that would practice her reading and her math. So even things like that could be helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm really glad she's learning the abacus, though. That's a really good skill.
Absolutely.
Really, really good skill.
Alyssa's learning it too. Ironically, I don't know the abacus.
Oh, good.
So we haven't done a lot of it at home. I
it.
took a Hadley class
But
on the
she's
abacus and it blew my mind, and so I quit. Admit it. So Daryl knows it, thankfully. Her dad does, so that helps a little bit. So he could do
that does
abacus
help.
with her. Yeah, it does. At least one of us does. But I admit I don't know the abacus.
I think the hard part, at least for me, with all of this has just been the amount of time that, I mean, it's better now. We're more in a routine, but particularly with, I guess with everything, I feel like I sort of have to be there at least to a certain extent, sort of looking over their shoulders, and particularly because my daughter's Braille note actually died, so it had to get sent away in the middle of this. So both of them are doing stuff on the Braille writer, so the teachers can't see the dots and they can't tell what they're doing. So luckily, I'm able to be there and kind of come, first I kind of sat with them, especially Oriana, because she was being really distractible and not really putting forth her best effort. And so then I sat with her and then she did great. And now I can kind of come in and out, but I feel like I'm always sort of have to be sort of omnipresent and sort of like, okay, yes, they did that right. Or, oh, this is what I see, or this is the problem that I'm seeing. And I'm sure Allison, especially, if you guys are homeschooling now, that's a lot. Like any parent that makes that homeschool decision is, there's a lot of prep that has to go into it. And there's a lot of responsibility then on, you to do it. And that's kind of been like, it really makes me grateful for the school that I can send my kids kind of away to get sort of those basic education things. But it also really does make me see kind of what's missing or how I sort of would like to do it differently, or, kind of, I'm doing a hybrid right now, actually, because my daughter had a bad injury and was kind of in and out of school for the end of 3rd grade and has just kind of come back to school part-time now that 4th grade has happened. And so we're really, for math, we're really focusing on fractions, because that's really the skill that she missed, and that's what she really needs, and her basic times tables. That's what, and I will defend it all day long. So we're not doing all the online stuff for math. We're doing it in a different way. Science, yeah, we're doing that. English language arts, yes, we're doing that. But you know, some schools don't let you do that hybrid approach. And either way, I just think it's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, how do we even tackle this? Or so I feel you, Allison, when you say I don't even really know what I'm looking for, because it can be very overwhelming in that way.
Right. And I feel like it's no, that makes sense for me. And I would like a kind of hybrid approach too. We're trying this because, like I said, we were kind of homeschooling anyway. And I figured if I'm going to homeschool anyway, I might as well do it this way. But I don't know if it's our long-term solution, only because I am not particularly in a place where I can homeschool. I still work full-time, and I am still working full-time virtual, you know, from home, because I've always worked from home. And as long as I'm doing that, it is tricky for me to be the main anything for my kids' education. So, but on the other hand, since we're already distance learning, I figured at least when I'm homeschooling, I can choose who's doing my kids' distance learning rather than the public schools cobbled together curriculum. So that's what I'm trying to do. But I'm not sure that it works, because at the end of the day, I've still got, my kids are little. I mean, early intervention, my little one's in early intervention. It's so pointless. I am struggling with futility. I actually have her sister's old TVI for early intervention, who we like very much, but nobody's learning anything. I don't know what they're supposed to get out of remote early intervention. I truly don't know. But whatever it is, we're not getting it, because we don't need parent support. I don't need them to sit there and hold my hand and cry with me, because I'm used to blindness. And I don't know what else is supposed to be getting out of it. They can't do pre-Braille stuff with her, which is what I'd prefer, because it all is really hands-on. And I just don't know how to do that through a video and she's a toddler. She's only engaged by a video for so long, which is a good thing.
Allison, I'm going to push back with you about it being hands-on, because I think most, when I was teaching students, my hands were not all over those children's bodies all the time. They just, my body was close to them, and I'm guessing that somebody's body, either Daryl's or yours.
It's usually one of us. But usually mine.
I mean, what the distance education is really making parents be paraprofessionals unpaid. That's what like it or not. So if you can see yourself in that role, perhaps it's not as difficult. I mean, we know that hand over hand is bad. I mean, the research is really clear that it's a terrible method, and it doesn't grow. So we don't even want that. Do we expect that? I would hope the TVI would be pretty descriptive, but it might be that there needs to be some underhand modeling, and maybe there's a parent available. If not a parent available right then, maybe I don't do that activity, because, you know, for a 3 and 4 year old, my activities aren't going to be more than 3 to 5 minutes a piece.
I think that's part of it. Part of the issue is with my little one, the one in early intervention, is like, I don't think the TVI has a plan. I think she has no idea how to do remote instruction. It's like, it's not even like we're doing lessons. We're chatting and she's watching my kid play. Like, I just don't think we don't have a plan. We don't have a plan. And I don't want to make them have a plan. I think what I'm struggling with is I have the teachers I have to work with, and I can't make them do something that's actually educational for my kids. And also, I can't do it myself as much as I would want to. I just can't, because I'm not available when I'm also working and, keeping my kids alive. And so, that's why I switched to Tech Vision that's why I switched to Tech Vision for my older one, thinking that would at least solve some of the problem, because at least then I have teachers who think a little more closely to what I do. But that's got new challenges, but it doesn't solve early intervention. That's where I'm coming from.
Right. So what would you like early intervention to do? Like, what would help? What would be like a good lesson? Would it be like putting popsicle sticks on paper and having her follow those popsicle sticks? Would it be, what kind of pre-Braille would be the thing that you'd like?
That would be fine. The truth is, even though I've done this once before with my older one, I cannot remember what we did at this age. I don't remember. And if she just reminded me, we're going to work on this skill this week, whether it's, I don't know, following lines or sorting textures or whatever. She just said, this is what we're doing this week. Here's how you do it. That would help me. I just don't remember. And if she's not got any structure to her classes, which she doesn't. And I have to say that with my early intervention options available, she is probably the best.
Best one. Sure. So what goals does your daughter have? Because I know you always do really nice IFSPs. So what are the goals that she's supposed to be working on? Because that could be a way that you could really pull her back. Like, hey, I was looking at her IFSP last night. I see we have this goal. I think she's got this one down, but this one, how would I work? What could we do to work on this at home in between times? Or could you do a lesson on this with us at some point? Kind of use her that way.
Yeah, I can do that. That's a good idea. I need to actually review the IFSP because one of them is definitely a tactile goal though, like pre-braille. And I mentioned that I didn't necessarily refer to the IFSP, so excuse me, I will do that because that's a good approach. I did mention about a week ago in one of our phone chats, I said, you know, I know we're working on pre-braille stuff. What's the next thing? Because I don't really remember. She just basically said, oh, just keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, thanks.
And Allison, Carlton here, I encourage you to stop using the word pre-braille.
Yeah.
It's a bad word.
Okay.
Because we don't use pre-print.
Right. So pre-literacy?
Pre-literacy.
Pre-literacy. Yep. Perfect. Pre-reading.
Pre-reading. Pre-writing can be. Because unfortunately that pre-braille kind of creates a wall. Oh, thou shalt not go to the braille. Pre-braille is the same thing as pre-print, which is immersion in it.
Yes.
And tactile, yes. I hope she has flashcards. One thing I love doing with my kiddos was the egg carton manipulatives. I would have them match the flashcards with those. So it's tactile, but my body doesn't need to touch their bodies to make that happen.
Right. That makes sense. I feel like you have great ideas, and I hear great ideas on the various groups I'm on, but when I'm with the teachers I'm with, I'm not getting those great ideas, and I don't have whatever I need to have to pull them together on my own. Partly because I feel like I'm always scrambling for materials. That's one thing I miss about having actual teachers in our lives. Is like they always had the materials and they're just leaving mom to like scout around. I was like, do I have tennis balls? Do I have cotton balls? Do I have Q-tips today?
Right.
And that wouldn't necessarily stop most parents in their track. It does for some reason for me that does. I just get easily overwhelmed by sequencing all the materials. It's just not my thing. And that's fine, but it's not any one thing. That is one thing I miss about teachers is what I'm trying to say. But the other thing is I feel like I know there's good ideas out there.
Yeah.
And this is actually why we left public school, honestly, is that I felt like if I wasn't feeding my kids' teachers the ideas, they weren't getting done. And even though I had basically good teachers who will do ideas if I suggest them, I cannot be the one to suggest them all the time. I can't do that and do the other things I need to do for my family.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, and maybe it would be great to share with them some of the NFB distance learning resources. I think we've been really focusing on parents, but honestly, a lot of teachers have been coming to those. And that's not bad. That's great.
And they actually just had one on sheets that you can make at home easily with lines that kids can track. And so maybe even just sharing that video with them and saying, hey, could we do something like this? Would you, I don't know if they can make materials and drop them off or mail them to you. Like, could you make, I don't know if I have popsicle sticks. I don't know if I have this, but could you help me out by, because I'm working full time and, whatever else, can you help me out by making these and bringing them over? I know in the last, I think we had a thing about egg matching like different textures, putting different textures on plastic Easter eggs or on note card, whatever you have handy, but whatever the teacher has handy, and then having the kids match those textures, rough to rough, smooth to smooth, soft to soft, all of those are pre-reading, especially for a 2-year-old. I mean, that's sorting,
that's a good idea. I
anything that kind of gets her.
That helps.
So I mean, anything that you can share and say to them like, hey, I saw these and I'm really excited about it. I'm having trouble just making them, but could you guys, is this a way that you could help us out? And could we focus on these for some lessons? And I hate the fact that you're feeling like you have to spoon feed them, but maybe if you give them a couple, maybe they'll think, oh, wow, there's this whole resource. Maybe I will check it out and see what else I can add to my toolbox. Maybe, and maybe they won't, but it's worth at least a quick quick try.
It is worth a try. The other thing is, did those videos, I have to say, I haven't been watching the videos posted, I know, mostly because, do they have transcripts? I admit I have almost no patience for videos. They're really long.
Let me check real quickly. I don't.
Yeah, because that would help me a lot. Because I admit I don't watch anybody's videos. It's not NFPPC's videos. I don't watch anybody's videos.
I hear you. I'm the same way. I'm the same way, Allison. I hate news stories online that don't have actual transcripts. I don't care about the
Right. It's just not the way I learn things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me see real quickly. I think they should, but I'm looking.
Yeah, it's okay if they don't. I totally understand that everybody's only got the resources we have. I'm just saying that would definitely help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the same thing. I'm on a Facebook group for the early intervention parents locally, and they post videos too, and I don't watch those either. So
yeah, I will say that most of our distance learning resources are text.
Okay.
There's only one Zoom lesson.
A lot of them are.
Okay. The one I was thinking of was like the one about, I don't know, you were building planting a flower non-visually, and then there was one about tracking, and there was one about shoe tying. I don't know if I'm
Oh yeah, those are the Zoom. Yeah, those are the Zoom
those
lessons.
are Zoom
so
too. Yeah, okay. They're not. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let me look and see.
But it's also possible I've missed resources, because I will be the first to admit that I am getting bombarded with resources from all sides, and I will never keep track of them all.
Yeah.
Yep. No, and that's the issue, and that's why kind of trying to pick your favorite is, and that's usually what people do. So
yeah, and that's okay.
I would definitely
even wish the NFB would just consolidate our resources, because like I know the different affiliates have different Zoom calls, and then PBC has some. Like I just
so there's an email that comes out every Wednesday that says NFB virtual events, and not everything is on there, but it is as much as we can. They are.
Well, yeah, I
hear
you. Is that something from NFB Net, or how do I find that?
Yeah. Yep. Nope.
Okay.
If you're on an NFB Net list, I think you should just get it. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I thought I'm on NFB Braille, and I don't think I get them. I don't think I'm getting those.
I was just checking. Unfortunately, our
really
YouTube
weird.
videos do not have transcripts.
Okay.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Maybe we can fix that.
Right.
Yeah. I hear you. I know it's a lot. And making transcripts are a pain to do.
But they're important.
But there are a lot of resources that they are important. And there's a lot of resources that are just text and they're not transcripts. So they're on, if you just go to nfb.org/COVID-19, there's a tab or there's a link under there that says distance education. And that's where
I'll
all
do that.
the stuff is grouped.
Browse through that and see if I can
send. There are some story time resources too that both your girls might like. They're just people that are fluent Braille readers reading stories, which obviously your girls get all the time, but it would be a different person.
You know
reading,
what? They like anybody who's not mom.
Yeah, there you go. So that might be a good one for just
they've actually been going
to
need
a break.
Mary Noel Chamberlain's been doing a Wednesday morning story time.
Oh, nice.
And we've been going to that a lot. It's hit or miss how well my kids are open to that. I still feel like there's got to be something. The way my kids engage with a live human versus a video one is just a different thing. And so I think they've got a better attention span for humans than they do videos, it seems. But
of course,
Alyssa's gone to more of them than not, and she gets something out of them. So we've been doing those, and that's been good.
And the nice thing about a video is you can just stop it if they're not getting it or liking it.
Right.
Stop
no,
it.
but I meant just like even the video, like conferences, the Zoom calls and things.
Yeah, the in-person. Yeah, I know. It's hard though. I get it.
Right. But we're still doing it. I just have noticed, I didn't really think about it before now, because I guess I didn't have to. I didn't realize how much apparently my kids need a human versus a human on a screen. They like humans on screens. I mean, they talk to our friends and family that way right now. It's not that they don't like it. It's just that it seems like they engage differently. And I just didn't know that until we lived it. So now we know. But it's okay.
And Allison, I really encourage you to share what you said about it's different when it's coming from mom. That is true for us all. And it's different when it's coming from a parent. You have a different relationship with your child than a child does with a teacher. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Piano teachers don't even teach their own kids piano. They get friends to. They switch, swap. Because it's a different relationship. And I think your TVIs might need to be reminded of that, because like I said, parents throughout this country are being forced to be unpaid paras to their children.
Yes.
And it's not homeschooling because you have a straitjacket of what you're supposed to do, and it's not your choice. And it's just you need a lot more support than you're getting.
Right. I admit I mostly just didn't do. We were getting, when we were still in public school, we were getting the patterns pre-K curriculum every week she was dropping off in our mailbox, which was really nice. I realized like we were so much luckier than a lot of families, but we weren't doing most of it just because it wasn't something I could get my kid to do for me.
You didn't miss much. I'm sorry.
Well, I believe that too. But on the other hand, it was still better than nothing, I suppose. Maybe not. But I guess the other thing is where I'm feeling like I don't know where to go from here. And even once hopefully we will all reach a point where social distancing is different and we'll be able to go back to schools. I still don't quite know where to go because we've decided to homeschool, not public school, but we could certainly go back to public school. But I feel the problem I'm having is when I'm in public school, I'm giving all the ideas, and it was literally creating a part-time job for me to coordinate school. I went to parent-teacher conferences in March, just before everything closed down. It was in early March. We had our spring teacher conferences, and I could tell how overwhelmed the classroom teacher was by doing Braille. She never did adjust to it. It wasn't for lack of wanting to. You could tell it made her anxious. She was really anxious about it. And the other problem is I looked around the classroom, and yes, there was Braille in the classroom, but there were errors. And this is preschool Braille. This is not equations. There were a lot of Braille errors. And I didn't see how my daughter could learn to read when she's surrounded with Braille errors.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very
it
true.
wasn't for lack of trying. We have an excellent IEP. We have a very excellent IEP. We had, I would say, by and large, very caring staff. Our meetings in general were not battles. They mostly would work with us. They were willing to work with us. She was in an excellent school because our district has a public Montessori. And so she was in Montessori whilst receiving IEP services, which is fabulous. And we had all these good things. And I was still I still went to those conferences and I left so sad because there's all these Braille errors. And and aside from her TVI time, her classroom instruction was not really getting Braille incorporated. It just wasn't. So then the alternative is I'm homeschooling, which is great. But there again, you go back to that problem. One, which is I'm working full time. Two is even when I'm with my daughter, I'm mom. And it's ironic to me that I know more about blindness than most of the teachers my daughter encounters. And yet, because I'm mom, I need to find other people who know less about blindness to teach her things. And it leaves me with this not knowing where to go next. It all seems pretty unsolvable.
Well, Allison, I don't know how much scholarship money you have, but I will tell you, we have some LCB teachers. I'm thinking of one in particular, and you might want to try her out with tech too. She's awesome. She's a blind mother of a blind child who's also a teacher of blind students. She is an amazing teacher, and she might be a choice. And we have others. Other folks teach who are LCB grads, or not LCB, I'm sorry, Louisiana Tech. They have their master's degrees, they're certified teachers. So that may be something so that you're not having, and I'm guessing that you're not going to have to be the repository of everything.
Of all the ideas.
That would be great.
Like that. I can share that information with you.
Definitely drop me a message in Messenger or an email or whatever works for you. That would be great.
She's also a past winner of NFB Distinguished Educator Blind Children Award.
Okay. That would be great because I'm always looking for a new idea. And I really like Tech Vision. I want to stay with them to an extent, but I don't think I'm needing to stay with them all the time. That's very new. I almost hate to offer an opinion on it because it's so new to us. I will say part of my issue, which is, I guess, a whole different animal that I don't even know where to go, is I really, truly think my 4-year-old has something in addition going on in addition to blindness. Okay. And that is a whole different puzzle to try to solve because I just don't know.
Yeah, I'll connect you with that person.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that helps. I will look into that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Because I think your point's a really good one.
Yeah.
I've been more professional development.
we do. We need and more not even just but more somebody to actually look behind, or the TVI to look behind themselves and make sure that they're doing the Braille correctly, or that they're doing, I felt very similarly, like, okay, we have this good IEP, but it's just not being put into practice the way that I wish it would be. And so, where do we go? And not only, Allison, are you mom, but if you're working full time, at the end of that day, do you really want to be tackling
No.
curriculum too? I mean,
No.
there's only so much time in a day, and there's
Mhm.
only so much time and things. You know, a happy mom is critical. A happy mom that has some time for self-care is absolutely critical. And so, I mean, I think you have to really look at all of that as well, that, you know, and that's kind of why I have, until now when I'm being forced to, I've really gone away from homeschooling, even though I know it might be the best thing, but I had very little faith in my ability to really do it, to stick to that schedule, to be, you know, to have my kids learn enough. And that was just a barrier that I couldn't overcome. And I was very worried about just the accessibility of curriculums, or, you know, like I would always have to be, okay, I'd love to do this program. Is it accessible? No, it's not. Okay, then I not only have to fight for myself to have access, but for my kids. All of that was just too exhausting. And so I completely understand where you're coming from. And unfortunately, I don't know that there's a perfect answer. It's just the answer that works best for your family, and it might change over time, perhaps. So
Right. And I can't decide which drain on my energy I prefer, which is trying to like I can't decide if it's easier or harder to try to like force public school to implementing the IEP they set up, or if it's easier to try to homeschool when I basically am not quite positioned to homeschool. I don't actually know which I prefer, except my guess right now, and it is only a guess, is that at least with homeschool, I can try to choose the teachers I'm outsourcing it to, for lack of a better word. It's not a great way to put it, but it's the best I have.
No, that makes total
Whereas
sense.
with public school, I am stuck with who they have.
Yep.
And since you have the money to actually hire teachers, that's awesome. You know,
right. It is definitely awesome. It's not a lot of money, but it is at least more than none if I was homeschooling on my own. So it makes it more doable than homeschooling would be in other states, for sure.
Yeah, and what we did with my blind child is, it wasn't until high school, but finally pulled her out of the public school because it was so bad in so many ways, and went to an online charter school. Now, obviously, online is not necessarily where you want to go, but the reason it was so helpful is that my child was the first blind student they ever had. So we didn't have to take the people who were local. So we were able, just exactly like you're saying, we could pick who would be providing that instruction.
Right.
Made so much of a difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. That is, like I said, given those two kind of not ideal options that I just described, at least for now, this is the best guess I have. And that may change in 6 months, because particularly with little kids, everything changes in 6 months.
Yes.
Sometimes 6 weeks, but yeah.
Sometimes 6 minutes.
Yeah,
So
pretty much. And so, I mean, I'm just having basics because it's interesting too, because I've got all this like blindness, like stuff and accessibility stuff to coordinate. On top of that, I've just got regular kid problems too. I mean, like my 4-year-old has such high energy. She does everything in very, very big ways that getting her to sit down for anything, whether it's me doing patterns or somebody doing a virtual story time or someone trying to work with a braille display, like that is also a lot of energy. And yeah, people who are not mom are more successful at it. Although I do okay with it. We get some things done, but it's all hit or miss.
When are we going back to school?
So it is getting to be almost 5 o'clock on the East Coast. I am really glad, Allison, that you were able to tune in, and I really hope that we were able to give you at least some ideas and things to work with. And I really appreciate you sharing all these struggles, because they are very real struggles and very, very valid ones. I don't know, Carlton, do we have other people still on the call? And if we do, is there anybody else that wants to share anything, either any ideas for Allison or any, things that they're looking for or resources?
Stephanie's on the call.
Pick up some stuff that I had books and stuff ready.
I don't know if she's hearing us. Stephanie, can you hear us?
Yes, 1 second. All right,
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, I had to step away for a second.
No problem.
No problem.
I had an.
So do you have
editing
anything
group.
else?
I
Oh.
didn't have anything else.
Nothing else? Okay. Nobody has any ideas as far as our Fabulous Fridays, what they'd like to see, aside from maybe something about how, maybe Allison, maybe we could do something on how to help, where are the good ideas to sort of help your TVI start thinking, Carlton, maybe? Or something about sort of like, how do you help, not just the ideas, but how do you help refocus, because again, this is all new for our TVIs too.
Yeah.
And so maybe they're struggling just as much as we are. So maybe what can you do to sort of rein them in if they're really seeming to be kind of more all over the place and not really having a lesson worked out? How can you sort of help that by bringing it back to the IEP, or by saying, this is what I'd really like to work, or this is what I'm seeing at home, or could we work with my child on this? For example, right now my daughter's just doing fractions with her teacher of blind students. That's all she's doing. I'm doing reading with her. Now I'm in a very, interesting position because I can do that with her. But that's how we've decided to divvy it up, even though in her IEP, she has reading goals and she has math goals. But I said, right now with you, she really should work on math. With me, I'll read with her. I'll read with her all day long. And so kind of just maybe something about that might be helpful. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another thing I just thought of, and it might go hand in hand with some of that stuff as well, is up until today, and I did see a couple of things, like today and yesterday about it, but I haven't seen a whole lot, is in terms of since a lot of these things are being more like electronic, like documents and different things, on maybe what maybe the parents can do in terms of making like documents or PDFs more accessible with like note takers. Like I said, up until like yesterday or today, I did see a couple of things for teachers about it, making sure like different documents or PowerPoints or different things are accessible, but maybe even things that the parents can do.
Yeah, and we're talking about
a lot of the TVIs aren't doing that.
Yeah, and we're talking about the math earlier, how to just make it, but I mean, it was first grade math, so it shouldn't be that difficult. But
Right.
yeah, how to clean stuff up, maybe quick cleans.
Yeah.
That would be great. That would be great.
Especially in terms of, because a lot of schools now are using Google Classroom and Google Docs and different things like that, and how to, incorporate that and what the parents can do to.
It's so funny that you're saying that. I just bought a book from National Braille Press about Google Docs because I'm having so much trouble figuring out. My daughter can edit stuff when she looks at it without JAWS, but I'm like, that's not what I want to do. And so I'm now teaching myself Google Docs stuff, and I'm also teaching myself about a new Braille display because we were able to borrow one. And so we're hoping that she's going to have a Q Braille, but I said, well, I've got to learn to use it myself before I can teach her. So I have my own homework, which again, I'm incredibly lucky in that way. Not, number one, I have the resources to get the book and to borrow the Braille display. Number two, I'm making the time and able to make the time to sit there and read about it and learn how to use it, which says a lot, because a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have had the bandwidth for that. So that's good. But I know there's so many parents that can't or don't even know where to start, so any little helpful, like I'm hoping that there's something really simple in Google Docs, like a keystroke that I just don't know, that will solve the issue. But I said, I need a book because I don't know. And I could ask somebody, but I'd rather have a book for reference. So anyway, it's kind of interesting.
And I know at least here, like they don't do it much like for home stuff until now, the ones that can. But they start using Chromebooks and Google Classroom in third grade.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Here too.
Yeah,
and
if we
that's
stayed in our
actually-
district, my daughter would have had one by first grade.
By first grade. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's even in Montessori. If we were set to stay in the public Montessori, and even they have Chromebooks at 6. I don't know, first grade.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah. But
Actually,
I would say in the field, we do not recommend Chromebooks for our students. We fight
No.
hard for actual real laptops. I mean, Chromebooks, they're not quite the expensive doorstops they used to be, but I don't think much more of them than that. And they're just,
I've actually been told they're much better.
well, they're better, but
They're better. See,
better doesn't mean good.
right.
Better doesn't
You know,
mean
it's interesting. I'm going to start looking at it because we bought Austin his own. So I said, ooh, I'd love to look at how this Braille display will work with it, because that was what I was thinking for next year, possibly, so that she can have the same thing that her sighted peers are doing right there under her fingertips, because the Braille Note Touch never worked well. But again, maybe that's not the best approach. So maybe it's just a laptop with the Google Suite on it, which would be easy to do.
It was the regular laptop.
Yeah.
With,
She can do everything that
Got
the Chromebooks can do and more. And she can do
Right.
it so
that
much more
laptop.
efficiently than she can with the Chromebook. You
Got
can
it.
make it
Okay.
work, but you can make most anything work.
Well, yeah.
If you have enough time and
yes,
patience.
yes, you can.
But that's not the key. I mean, that's not the how we judge it. It has to be as effective and efficient for our blind kids using accessible technology. And
Technology. Got it.
Yeah, I was set to insist upon a PC when we got there, but we're just not there yet. I didn't have to worry about it
Right.
just yet.
Yep.
I do have a question for you guys that to puzzle and see if you have any ideas for, because this was a new one to me, and I haven't seen a lot of new things in the blindness field, but this was a question I did not know the answer to. That is, our funding from the state for homeschooling does not allow us to use funding to purchase assistive technology. And of course, Daryl's old Braille display that Alyssa was using, of course it died about as soon as distance learning happened. So she's using an old Smart Beetle, which is okay for now, but it's not great. It's not the greatest display. But I can't use that funding to purchase AT. I can use that funding to rent AT.
ooh,
Is there anywhere that would rent a Braille display? I said that to the community of the other parents who are on the same scholarship account. I said, does anyone rent AT anywhere? And they kind of like, yeah, not really. It's hard to find. And among the places that do, there's very few of them that rent, Braille tech.
I don't know of any, but honestly, I would probably reach out to whatever, if you want Humanware or Vespero, I might reach out to my local dealer and see if they can make a rent to own agreement with you.
Right. That
Yes.
is what I actually did that. That's my best guess I had right now too. I just wondered if anybody had something I hadn't thought of.
The only other thing would be your state. They might have like I know Maryland has Maryland Technology Assistance Program.
Yep,
which
that
is
was the other thing I tried. They don't allow rental. They
state
don't allow
thing, yep.
loans for longer than 4 weeks at a time.
a month. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how ours is too. So
Yeah.
I didn't know if they could do anything special, but I think the rent to own is a much better option.
Yeah.
And then the people don't have to know that you're owning, that
Exactly.
you're renting it.
Yep.
That's all they need to know. So.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And sometimes some states have low interest AT loans that you would be buying it. You could get that money for it, but you could do that. And maybe you have a civic organization, maybe you can do fundraisers, whatever.
Yeah,
That's
I've
another
also thought of that.
possibility.
I know some people get tech bought by Lions Clubs and such. That's also on my list of things to check into. I just was waiting for some of the social distancing stuff to change before I try approaching local groups. But yeah, I was just curious if, those are things I thought of too. I was just curious if somebody had another approach, because it was definitely something I had not seen before. When I read that in the parent handbook, I'm like, renting it? Is that a thing?
And you know what? It might be worth asking, just going up and say, why is this a rule? And talk to your state representative, talk to your state senator. This is a rule, and that is really hurting my child. Can you help me make a change in the law? Because
supposedly there are new regulations coming in this fall. Actually, that's
okay.
Because I belong to one of the groups of parents who are also on this scholarship, and even though most of them don't have Braille readers, they at least have been around this process long enough that they supposedly there are some changes coming up this fall. I just we're not there yet, because apparently I'm not the only parent who looked at that and said, "What?"
Yeah, and the other thing is some state agencies for the blind do provide services for children. Not all, they don't have to. That may be another place. I know in Pennsylvania's a hot mess now, but at least 2-3 years ago, especially for homeschooled children, our state agency would have placed a refreshable braille display with Alyssa.
That would be great. I don't think ours does that, but I'll double check for sure. Yes, that is a good point. And I'm also going to check because I think we have a local, like I wonder if our School for the Blind, for example, might rent one out. They probably, just because they normally don't doesn't mean they couldn't. I'm also going to check that.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, maybe it's not the best model, but if it's in working, I mean, for now, since she's younger, possibly something that's, maybe they would let you, like, for example, I have an old Brilliant. I know now they have one that actually has like a scratch pad in it and is really a little bit nicer, but mine works perfectly well. And maybe some of that stuff that's just sitting on the shelf because it's older, they might be willing to either rent you or just give you for now that it functions well, and then you can look at other avenues to get stuff you really
definitely
want.
She doesn't need any of the smart display features. She doesn't. Definitely. Something very basic is preferred, because and even the smart meter would work. The reason I'm not loving it is because it's just an unstable device in general. I mean, so many of them are, but I think it's particularly unstable. Plus, that display is pretty tiny. But it's,
and you want big, 32 to 40 cells, I would say at least, just because you want her to gain some speed with her, lines and tracking longer and that type of thing.
Yes, we really can't track with this display, but it's working for the moment to at least get her something.
Sure. No, you make it work. Like Carlton said, you can make almost anything work.
But those braille mechanics are so important. And if you're making flashcards for her, I'm a monster fan of lead in and lead out lines. So,
I love that you think I'm the kind of mom who makes flashcards. Thank you.
Well, maybe Dad could do it too, because he has to be useful.
Less likely.
Men need to feel useful. But like I said, and I would match them with those egg cartons with ping pong balls. But you know what? You could also use those horrible supermarket mailers that come and clog up your mailbox. They make, if you crunch them up really small, they make good ping pong balls.
Oh, that's a good idea.
All about that too. And
that would do the trick. And actually, I'd almost prefer that, because ultimately, whatever balls I use in the egg carton, my kids are going to throw anyway. So at least those are something.
So use the paper, wadded up paper, whatever works, and then
aluminum foil, anything.
And then she can match the dots 1 and 3 to the flashcard, the K. So she can start doing self-correct.
Or a character on the Braille display if you're not going to do a flashcard. A character on the Braille display, or anything like that. She could do some matching.
It's hard to get buy-in from her, but I try a lot of things.
You have one of those too. Yes, I understand.
Yes, that is the kid I have. And her sister, thank goodness, is not like that. Like, I think I might have at least one kid who can be suggested to try a thing, but my older one is not
the one. I think it's to try to make mistakes and have her catch your mistakes or catch Dad's mistakes. That was really motivating for Anna when I was learning to Braille. I would pay her 10 cents for every mistake.
There you go.
And dude, I cannot tell you how much I did that with my students too. They love adults making mistakes.
I like that. That's a good point.
So funny. My para was with me from first grade all the way up through high school. And she still, when I see her, will tell the story of when she was first learning to Braille and I was a first grader, and I would come down and I would say, Miss Debbie, you did not Braille this right. You Braille this, and it is supposed to be this.
That's funny.
My teacher of blind students was like, oh, it's wonderful. She's self-advocating. And Debbie's like, I really have to answer to a first grader. Like, okay.
Yep.
Hey, and the bad Braille in the classroom, talk to the school about it. Make it a learning thing. And maybe when she finds bad Braille, she turns it in and gets a lunch pass to sit with a buddy, or I don't know, whatever.
She's not quite enough of a reader to find mistakes just yet.
Okay.
I don't think. So that's why I was worried. And I did talk to them and they did fix it. But the point is, I wasn't there every day to check on their mistakes.
Right. Right, exactly. And then
And
you
they-
think, oh my gosh, if I'm not seeing them every day, what is
Right.
going by? If I'm seeing these with
Yeah.
the little worksheets that come home, what kind of stuff is being given to her at school that's brailled
Yep.
wrong? Yep,
Yep.
I've been there.
Yep.
Yep.
See, we just need teachers like Stephanie that will, you know.
You guys,
Be
and Stephanie
awesome
was one of
braillists
my
and
former
awesome
students a
teachers.
zillion years ago. Isn't it?
Oh,
It's
that's
Very
cool.
cool.
I love when that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. I think I taught computers and keyboarding when she was about 9.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anytime
Well,
you
I
want to move to
really
Arizona, though,
appreciate-
Stephanie, I have kids. I would love it if you could change my kids. Anytime you want to move to the desert, I don't know if that sounds appealing to you, but just let you know.
Mary Claire has joined us. I think we're kind of wrapping up, but Mary Claire, you're muted. I'm not going to mute. Oh, there you're unmuted.
Hi.
Please.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I'm good. Thanks for organizing this. We're kind of new to the area, just looking at assistive technology and stuff for our daughter. So I didn't know if the content would be appropriate for us or not, but she just has a lot of functional vision challenges. She's 8.5 and just struggling, but yeah, I just wanted to hear what you guys were, what others were doing or being able to get their hands on to kind of enhance literacy skills in that area.
So
Hey,
where do you
I'm
guys
Allison.
live,
I
first
have
of all?
I have 2 little girls who are both preschoolers, but they're 4 and almost 2, and they're sorry about that. They're both low vision too. So I hear you.
I mean, we're kind of like we have she has usable vision, and so like her teachers are keep pushing for the reading, but she's 8 and we're still working on like preschool reading skills, and so we're just at the point we've explored like OCR pens and stuff to try to, because she loves for me to read chapter books to her, but I can't transfer that. I want to be able to do it independently. So
Yeah, I got Braille for my kiddos early just because I figure my kids, I don't want them to be slowed down by trying to rely on limited sight. And they've got a lot of usable sight because they've got one of those eye conditions that you start out with a lot and you lose some later, but you start out with quite a bit.
Oh,
And
really?
I really recommend Braille. It's harder to start at 8, but I really recommend doing Braille if you can, because the print doesn't get bigger. It gets smaller and then there's more of it the older they get.
Yeah. It's just such a battle with the school. It's like, you know.
Yep.
Well, legally, it shouldn't be a battle, frankly, because you have legally a child who has an IEP for visual impairment including blindness must be taught Braille. Must be taught Braille, unless the entire IEP team agrees that an assessment shows that Braille is inappropriate for the child.
Yeah, well, she doesn't.
But not being able to read independently at an age-appropriate level for an age-appropriate amount of time at 8 years old is, I don't even need to go further with the assessment. I would, but you don't need to, because that's definitely indicia that Braille is not inappropriate.
Well, yeah. I mean, they made it so like, you know, she missed the dual media by like 1 point.
And that's
just
so illegal.
Wow.
All of that's illegal, completely illegal. And I mean, it doesn't help to say,
It's
hey,
just,
guys,
I
it's
can't.
illegal. Just maybe go back and say, let's rethink this.
Yeah. When did she get an assessment that she missed the dual media by 1 point? Was that recently?
About a year ago. A
Okay,
little over a
maybe it's
year
time.
ago. And
Maybe it's time for some new assessments because vision does change. And of course, like you're saying, the print size is changing. What she's being required to read in class is obviously, what her peers, I mean, are being required to read in class is obviously changing. So she, especially if she missed it by such a small margin, there might be much more data now to say, okay, this would be
very appropriate for her, because like you were saying, you want to make sure she can have that that ability to read by herself. And I think Braille would be could be a great tool for her. Are you guys, I'm assuming you guys are probably, your school district is probably closed for the next couple months because of all this other stuff that's going on, I'm assuming.
They are, yeah. They've actually been really great
Yeah.
at distance learning.
But you're probably not really going to be able to have a meeting with them for a little bit, I'm assuming.
Right.
I was just thinking, since she likes chapter books and stuff, have you looked into at least some audiobooks for the moment to kind of keep her entertained, and so that you don't have to, I know I love reading to my kids, but I'm also a busy mom and I don't always have time. So there is a library for the blind and print disabled. I don't know if you have looked into that for her. She could get books on audio for free and a special player to play them. And then they also, as she gets Braille, which, we would be happy to help you explore that if you want to explore that more, but they can also send Braille books for free through the mail. So that could be a possibility, just to have more books that she could enjoy. And that might also sort of make her want to read more. Like you could talk to her about then, hey, we're going to get you where you can read this kind of book to yourself as well. Again, I don't want audio to be the be all and end all, because for an 8-year-old who seems pretty intelligent, I'm guessing that the Braille, she could just take off with that and really fly with that and not have to worry about her eyes hurting or getting headaches or not being able to focus on letters or, whatever her whatever's slowing her down. But at least she would have right now some ability to have some audiobooks that she might really enjoy.
Bookshare is another possibility. Does she have a
Bookshare too? Yep.
Yeah, actually, Carlton, you were awesome, and I sent her all the paperwork to you, and you got us set up on that. So thank you for that.
Okay, great.
Yay! Oh, good.
Absolutely.
The only thing we don't have any devices, which I know it sounds archaic, but just because we just struggled with her learning for so long, we didn't want to let her just play with an iPad all the time. So, but now we're looking at maybe getting an iPad, because it seems, maybe I could be wrong, it's more accessible than the Chromebooks. I know I came in partly to that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. Just
it is.
Yes, no, an
audiobooks.
iPad is a great choice. Nope, an iPad's a good choice. And yes, she can get audiobooks either from Bookshare on the iPad or from the library. The library for the blind is nice because it actually has humans that narrate. If you get it on Bookshare, a lot of them are more of the synthetic speech, which is nice and certainly gets you the info. But for kids' books especially, I think having that human narrator can be really nice.
Yes, that was actually the hang up with the OCR pen. It freaked her out because it was such, she said it sounded like not a monster, but it was too scary, the voice.
And you can choose different voices. And I'll say my blind child really took to being able to speed the speech up. So and that's one way I think kids but need both. I think human readers are awesome. I think that they can add a richness and a depth that is unparalleled. But the computer speech, number one, that's what you're going to get if you're reading your emails online or searching the web online.
Right. Yeah.
But number two, you can fly. My kid flew through Harry Potter. Now she did it slowly too, but did it quickly. And I listened to Harry Potter in 2 hours or whatever it was.
Oh.
So once your daughter gets to those preteen years, let me tell you. And again, it's another tool. It's not one or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
It's everything. All the tools in the toolbox. Yep.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know.
And you can even speed up the bar, even the BARD. It's not as robotic, but you can even still speed that up too.
Yep.
Even though
you can have the human reader read faster.
Yeah, that could be fun too.
And I've even had a student. I was super excited because we were watching a video and she was telling me how much she was able to increase her her listening speed, and then the next day she was listening to a video or something in class, and everyone else was like, man, they're talking fast, and the student looked at me, that's nothing. Like,
Wow.
And that's not fast at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, my
That's
husband
incredible.
jibber jabber as quickly as my daughter was. But
Yeah.
the other thing is, have you heard of NFB Bell Academy?
Yes. Well, I actually had signed her up for it, I think last summer or the year before. And we, Haley Dare, I think you may.
Oh yeah. Yes, I know. Haley.
Yeah. She organized it here in Kalamazoo. We're in Michigan. And, but we were at a point, she was still young. We were trying to, we were doing vision therapy, trying to hold on to whatever the vision she had, but we didn't really think it was it didn't seem to help her that much. So we're just trying to help her, with the vision she does have. And, but we were going to maybe do it this year, but I don't, it's virtual, I think, is what I've been reading. Is that correct?
It's going to be awesome.
It is virtual, but it is going to be good. Yeah, it's going to be good virtual. You'll get a whole box of materials which you guys can use at home. So go ahead,
Oh,
Carlton.
really?
You know a little bit more about it because you're on the team. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. It really is.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
We'll definitely take a look at it again. Just trying to get her to help literacy any way we can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be a really good thing because there's like you'll get the box of materials, and then there's going to be 2 times each day that you'll be able to like talk to a teacher that will help you with any questions or comments that you have with the lessons. There's actually going to be a social hour every day, and that's going to be nationwide, not just within your state. So
Okay.
I think the social hour is going to be pretty cool because a lot of kids, even for Bell, you'll see kids in your state, but I think it's going to be cool to have kids from all over the country.
And I think especially for kids like your daughter and mine, my daughters they're very much the same way. They have some usable vision. So first of all, she's never not going to use her vision, and that's okay. What I tell my daughters is, I want you guys to use your vision for the fun stuff. I want you guys to use your fingers at school to read your Braille so that when you come home and you want to play a video game, you can do it without your head hurting. Or I want you to use your Braille at school so that in art class, you can draw that picture, which you love to do. And there's no reason you shouldn't be encouraged to do it, but you'll be able to do that because your eyes aren't so tired. And so it's not that she has to totally not use her vision ever. It's just teaching her that she has other senses, that she has the ability to use those, and that when she does use those, first of all, it's probably going to be much faster in a lot of cases for her to use those other senses and those other techniques. And then she has more time to do that fun stuff or the stuff that she really wants to do. And I think the thing that has really helped both my daughters is meeting other kids who have vision like theirs, that, they feel sometimes like they're the only ones. I'm blind. I'm totally blind. So what my daughter kept arguing with me was, no, I'm not as blind as you, which I had to say, you're right, actually. I mean, you're not, but there are other kids that are, and you also can't see as well as your brother can see. And it doesn't matter how much you can see, it matters what you can do. And you can do all these things, but you can do them more efficiently. So I think the more that your daughter can kind of meet other people who maybe can see some like her, but are learning Braille, or other blind adults that can talk to her about, yeah, I know I used to fight Braille too, or I didn't want Braille either, but then I started and it really helped me because of this, this, and this. And that's kind of where that social hour could really help, that if she could connect to other kids that are sort of in her same boat, that also might really help her, and also could really help give you ammunition, not that you should need much, but give you more ammunition for the schools to say, look, she was in this program and she's eager for it now. We did all this stuff, she understands it, she's making progress. All those things could really be helpful. So I would really encourage you to try it out, look at it.
That's a great point. Thank you.
There's no registration fee this year, so that's No.
Oh,
Yeah, and you don't have to travel anywhere, which
There's
also
three different.
nice and not nice
options.
at the same time, because I'm getting a little tired of my four walls myself. But
yeah.
it is what it is.
And there'll be
It does make. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just saying it does make it a little easier in the morning. You know, you don't have to get up quite so early to drive somewhere. You can just have school in your pajamas. But anyway.
Right. And there'll be pre-teaching type videos. So there'll be before the lesson.
Oh, great.
The lesson will be much more interactive because you'll see what the lesson's about at your leisure, repeating it as many times as you like. Then when you're online and interactive, then everybody can share what they did. It's kind of fun. And hey, but I had trouble with this. Okay, let's work together. So it can be a lot more. You're not just sludging through it every bit of it, because you sludge through on your own, which is cool. And it's also kind of emotionally a safe place to be, especially with new people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's the 3 different time. There's a one beginning of the summer. There's one in the middle, and then there's one towards the end. So you have pick the 2.
Yeah, you have 2. Yeah, they're 2-week sessions that you can choose the one that's going to work best for your family. Yep. So
I think there are 11 a.m. sessions, and for each 2 weeks, 6 p.m. Okay, well, you're still Eastern. Yes.
Yeah.
Love y'all. And at 6 p.m. Each of the 3 weeks, and then the social hour Stephanie was talking about is at 3 p.m.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So but you have to choose 11 or 6, but 3 is the everybody.
3 is a social. Got it. Nice. Well, I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. It is getting a little bit later and probably near dinner time for some, and maybe near snack time for others. Please, though, feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook page or on our website, nopbc.org. There's emails for Carlton Walker, who's the president. You can definitely write to us and let us know. And we will definitely be having more of these types of seminars or gatherings so that we can sort of help people through this strange time, but also, help people just in general, because eventually we will get back to maybe it'll be a different kind of normal, but it will be a little more normal than this new normal.
Right.
So at least I hope. So I really appreciate all of you being a part of this, and please feel free to reach out if there's anything that we can do, or to let us know how something went, or if there's something else that you think of that we can help you with. We are definitely here to support you, and we will definitely be putting out more announcements about what we're going to offer in the next few weeks. Carlton, do you have anything else to say?
I just quick welcome to Casey Robertson. I don't know what we decided to do for our Fabulous Friday. I have some ideas. Have to see who I can rope into helping with things. Those people don't need to hear my mouth going all the time. But so hopefully we can have more Fabulous Fridays. And like Melissa said, we really love these What Do You Want Wednesdays, because we want to know what's going on, what you need help with. Yep. We might not be able to solve it, but we can help think it through with you, and we definitely will give you all the support we can.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you all so much, and have a great evening. Stay well and stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.